NASCAR still doesn't have a timeline for the Fontana short track. Is it time to hit the panic button for Ty Gibbs this season? And Bob Tasca, he has some things to say about Fox Sports and their NHRA coverage. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Sunday after the NASCAR Cup Series race, when Christopher Bell won his third race in a row, 3 wins in the first 4 races, I tweeted out on Twitter, or X, the everything app, whichever one you want to refer to it as, that Christopher Bell currently is on pace to win 27 races this season, because obviously he's won 3 of the first 4. That's 75%. 75% of 36 is 27. Clearly a joke. Anybody with a brain knows that he's not going to win 27 races, but that, of course, didn't stop people on the internet from being like, dude, what are you even talking about? That's never going to happen. And my favorite were all the people that chimed in to say he could win 35 races in a row, still not win the championship race, and lose the championship. All right, you guys win. I was trying to have a little bit of fun, but you're right. He could win 35 races in a row and not win the championship. You're correct there. But hey, he's not going to do that. The same way he's not going to do 27 wins. So sorry for joking on the internet. But let's get into what we want to talk about today. And we're going to start off with the Fontana short track, or the lack of Fontana short track at this point, because we've been sitting around waiting for this to come back and potentially be built. It's like sitting around waiting for like the second season of Severance, or the people that watch Game of Thrones waiting for that to come around. Sopranos. You're like, we talked about this. We know this is going to happen. Let's make it happen. Well, we still aren't too sure what's going to happen just yet. So obviously, most of you know, Fontana was a 2-mile oval. It's the same place Matt Damon won the 24 Hours of Daytona. It was torn down, and left was 90 acres for NASCAR, including the front stretch grandstands, pit lane, and then the pit suites behind pit road there. Outside of that, Amazon warehouses everywhere. Just Amazon warehouses as far as the eye can see. Just what America needs is more warehouses. Turn 1 at this proposed short track is basically like 30 feet from an Amazon warehouse, like a big above ground pool away from an Amazon warehouse. Weird, but hey, whatever. Probably a great place to put a bunch of branding up if you wanted to. The problem is NASCAR's been talking about this short track for the better part of 4 years now or so, and we still don't have a timeline for it because, well, costs are expensive. Material costs are expensive. Doing construction in Southern California is expensive. And NASCAR has to sit around right now and wonder, hey, if we're going to put 500, maybe even more of this money into building a short track in Southern California, is it worth it right now? Is it worth it to build this premier short track on the West Coast? Hey, if they do build it, they could build a really, really nice facility that could be their gem of the West Coast portfolio. Obviously, Phoenix is a really nice facility. Racing, not that great, but the facility is nice. They could do the same thing in Fontana. The question is, does it make financial sense? Is it smart for NASCAR to spend that $500 million or whatever there? Or can they take that money and continue to host temporary events around Southern California, which are probably going to generate more buzz for NASCAR than having a permanent short track in Fontana, which is on a good day like 45 minutes away from Los Angeles? So do they take the, $50 million or whatever, $40 to $50 million a year that they spend on Chicago, and do they use that around Southern California to host temporary street circuits, potentially build a temporary racetrack somewhere, something along those lines? Because you're looking at investing $500 million for a facility that you can obviously have a long run at, 15, 20 years until, of course, that 90 acres becomes worth more than what the racetrack is there for you. Or do you take that money that you would have spent on that and then have 10 years worth of doing temporary circuits around Southern California and try to refine that and, make that into an event in itself? I think that's a real toss-up right now for NASCAR, and something that they're wondering about. And as Dave Allen, who's NASCAR's West president, said, he says, quote, "So we're not abandoning the market. What we don't have is a firm timeline yet. There's some things within the sport that need to be sorted before we can make some strategic decisions as it relates to what we're going to build." He goes on to say, quote, "We're going to do something. I just don't know what and when yet." Same, Dave. I'm going to do something with this channel. I don't know what I'm going to do yet or when, but I plan on doing something here. I get what he's saying, though. It's hard right now to make that decision. Obviously, there's some bigger things happening within NASCAR, whether it's the lawsuit, whether it's the future of the schedule, and kind of the, 5 to 10 year outlook that, Ben Kennedy, Jim France have for the sport. And right now, maybe it's not the best time to invest a couple $100 million into a short track. Completely understand that. But after this, track had its last race in 2023, construction started really quick on building up these warehouses and destroying the racetrack. And I think we were all hoping to have this short track that they talked about. Basically sounded like a Martinsville with Bristol-style banking in it. Hell yeah, like give me that. A little bit like a New Smyrna, it feels like, in a sense. I think it'd be a fun time. At the same time, just nothing has moved on it yet, which, hey, we'll see how it plays out for now. But Dave did say, if you've got 300 acres and you want to build a racetrack, get in contact with us, which doesn't have me feeling too great that there's actually going to be a short track built in Fontana, California. I think ultimately what we're going to see happen here is those 90 acres probably get sold off and the Fontana project, potentially die, but NASCAR still doesn't want to abandon the market. There still is going to be a place for NASCAR in Southern California. I think they just need to figure out what it is. Obviously, Long Beach didn't work out for them, although Roger Penske does own it now, and possibly they could figure out something to do with him there, but that's an IndyCar race, and NASCAR will have to play second fiddle there, I think. Probably. We'll see how that works out. And I don't think they want to do that. San Diego's been discussed. Would love to see it happen there. Obviously, Chicago's in the last year of its contract. I think that there's been a lot of talk around San Diego. If it does happen there, hey, I'll buy a ticket and book a flight immediately because I love the Chicago street race. You're going to put it somewhere even warmer with a beach? Yeah, dude, I'm going to be there for that. So I think there's some options for them there. I think there's some really cool possibilities. I'm just not entirely sold on the short track happening yet, and I'm weirdly okay with that because I would hate to see them commit to doing this. One, it not working out. Two, it just being hit with delay after delay after delay. Or, three, it just not being a good track and a good product versus trying something new, whether that be a street race, generate a lot of buzz. It's a great corporate event. It's a great place to, take the action to the people. And I think that's a really cool thing. Obviously, there's going to be people that are like, we don't need more street races. I'm talking about like literally 1 or 2 a season. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, for right now, NASCAR doesn't have a timeline on it yet. And that's actually, I think, okay for now. Is it time to hit the panic button on Ty Gibbs' season and maybe even career up to this point? Because his 2025 season has gotten off to an absolutely abysmal start. I mean, it's not something you would ever want to write home about. It's like the Carolina Panthers start to the season last year. He's the Oakland A's right now of the NASCAR Cup Series, and I feel bad for him in a sense because he has his 100 start coming up at the Coke 600 later this year, and typically we've seen 100 races be about the timeline where it's taking a lot of guys to get their first win, kind of coming between that 90 and 100 start area, and right now Ty Gibbs is quickly approaching that 100 start, and it doesn't feel like he's getting any closer to picking up a win. And it's not for a lack of trying. We've seen him lead laps in a bunch of races. We've seen him contend for wins. He's had good finishes last season. He just hasn't been able to capitalize and get to victory lane yet. And his 2025 is off to a horrid start. I mean, last year at COTA and in Phoenix, he finished third in both of those races. This year, 34th and 25th. Not great. He only has one top 20 finish in his last 9 starts dating back to last year, that being a top 20 at the Daytona 500 this year. His average start this season is 26.5. His average start last year, 11.4. We're talking about a net loss of like 15 positions there. That's really, really bad. His average finish this year is 26.8. His average finish last year, 17.4. So about a 9 position net loss there as well. Not great for Ty Gibbs. Right now in the point standings, he's 7 points ahead of Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy Johnson has started exactly 1 race this season, that being the Daytona 500. He's like 3rd from last in drivers who have started all 4 races this year. Ty Gibbs' season has gotten off to one of the worst possible starts out there, and it's not getting any better as it currently stands, especially when he sees his teammates like Chris Rebel go out there and rack off 3 wins in a row, has an average finish of like 8.3 or 8.5, somewhere in that range. Denny Hamlin has an average finish of 13.3 this year, and Chase Briscoe has an average finish of 18.5, and then meanwhile, there's Ty back there with an average finish of 26. Really bad. And I don't know what the disconnect is for Ty Gibbs right now because he is really talented. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be like Silver Spoon, Nepo baby, grandpa, funded him. He's only here because of his grandpa. He won a lot of races in the Xfinity Series, won a lot of races in the ARCA Series. I discount a lot of his ARCA wins because equipment can really mask, driver deficiencies down there, and equipment means a lot. It does everywhere, but in ARCA, you can really see the differences there. In the Xfinity Series, though, he's not a bad race car driver. He's maybe not as good as, his stats in Xfinity maybe, made him up to be, but he's a guy that can absolutely win at the Cup level, but his 2025 is just not going to plan so far. He's a good road racer, had a really bad COTA. He's good at Phoenix, had a bad Phoenix, although brake rotor blue, so can't really blame that on him. Drafting races, he won at Atlanta in the Xfinity Series. He just hasn't worked out for him in the Cup Series so far. Now we head to Las Vegas, a track where he should potentially be pretty good at. We'll see if he can, turn it around there. But right now, that 54 team has to be sitting back and wondering, oh boy, what do we need to do to get better here? I think that his best chance of winning before we get to, the 600 would probably be Bristol. Led a lot of laps there last year in the spring. It's a track that he's been very good at, potentially can contend for a win at there. Obviously, there's a few others that are going to get mixed in there. Kansas is another racetrack that he could potentially, pop off at and get it done. But Ty Gibbs is 2025. I know he's got a new crew chief, but they might be wanting to hit that panic button right now, real quick. Some of you might not know Bob Tasca. He is a funny car driver in the NHRA series, and on Sunday, he called out Fox Sports, the broadcasting partner of the NHRA, for what he felt was an unjust ad, a fake news ad, in his words, centered around the IndyCar promotion this offseason, where Fox referred to IndyCar as the fastest motorsport on the planet, which, fastest motorsport being, cars that drive in circles, yeah. But Tasca wanted to take them to task because the NHRA is technically the fastest motorsport on the planet. 340 mile per hour for a funny car is certainly faster than the 240 mile per hour that IndyCar will go. But Tasca called him out on Fox Sports, saying, quote, "I said a few things getting out of the car and I really mean it. And I want to say to the fans, I'm really disappointed with Fox Sports. All winter I got to hear, quote, the fastest motorsport in the world. And I looked up and I didn't see the PPG Mustang and I didn't see Proc's car. I saw an IndyCar. And the fact is, we're the fastest motorsport in racing, and I think it's an insult to the drivers and the fans, and truthfully, I did not think that Fox News was a fake news network." All right, so he's got his panties up in a wad over this, and personally, I don't take a ton of umbrage with this. I don't think that Fox is fake news for this. Fox hired an ad agency to put together ads for IndyCar, for their IndyCar promotion. And they did a really good job with the New Garden, Pato Award, and Alex Palou ads. They were phenomenal, really well done. And now here we have Tasca getting all angry about this. At the same time, it's a new motorsport product for Fox. They're going to put a ton of money behind it. And it is the fastest oval racing on the planet. And maybe they should have went ahead and said that. Hey, fastest oval motorsport in the world, or, fastest non-drag racing motorsport in the world. Whatever they want to say here. But Tasca getting all up in arms about it just feels a bit nitpicky, in my opinion. The NHRA is a really awesome product. I absolutely encourage everybody to go to an NHRA race because the feeling you get in your chest it's wild. You cannot describe it. You're going to walk down in the pits. Every ticket has a pit pass with it. You can walk down in the pits. Your eyes are going to water. You're going to cry when they fire those engines up right in front of your eyes. It's a really fun experience for you to go to. Unfortunately for Tasca, I think he needs to look at where NHRA kind of ranks in the pecking order right now for Fox. Fox knows that they're going to be able to capitalize on IndyCar viewership right now. They're going to get about 1.5 million viewers. For the 500, they're probably going to get around 5 million viewers, potentially a little bit more. NHRA averages about 800,000 viewers per broadcast right now. And unfortunately for NHRA, that's just kind of where they're at in the pecking order. So for Tasca to come out and call them out, I get it. I understand it from a certain aspect here. But at the same time, I think you have to sit back and be like, I think we need to look internally at some of the issues we have going on here to try to grow this sport rather than have Fox call out our broadcasting partner right now. And I'm not saying Fox is not guilty in this at all, but calling them a fake news network and then getting on them for this just doesn't feel like a great way to build that relationship for them at a time where the NHRA could really use the same type of promotion that IndyCar is getting. So, yeah, I get what Tasca is saying here. I understand it. I'm just not sure this is the right avenue to go about it. I think there's probably a little bit more of a diplomatic way to do it because I don't think this is going to get the result that he was ultimately hoping for. While I understand it, and while NHRA is a badass motorsport product that goes really, really fast, ultimately you're calling out the partner that you desperately need in this, that being Fox Sports. So, yeah, not what I would have done. Understand it, but hey, it's Bob Tasca. He walks the beat of his own drummer, and he's a Northeast guy, right? He's going to come up and tell you exactly how he feels, which is certainly one way to go about it. So let me know in the comments what you think about the Fontana short track and the lack of a timeline there, Ty Gibbs' 2025 season and ultimately Cup career at this point, and what Bob Tasca said. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.